Hello, everyone, and welcome to Geeky Geezers. This is your host, Aged Boomer. Here is my co-host, Pacelli.
Happy Sunday. Welcome, everyone.
Yeah, who's in the house tonight? Let's see. Auditor Dread, Melissa Harrison Sons, Joshua V. Good to see you. I think I've seen Joshua V in a little while. Have we? I don't know. Let me see.
He was just on the other night, but yeah,
Okay.
good to see you.
Well, it's okay. Cool. Returning people. I'm sure we'll get some more spilling over into here. So let's
Just
see.
be sure to hit that like button.
Hit the like button. Sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. I should start saying that all the time. Anyway.
I mean, if you're here, I figure you probably want to hear our stuff, so encourage us so that we keep doing this stuff.
Yes, exactly. This has been kind of a dead week, don't you think, news-wise?
Well, I don't think there was anything huge that came out this week that I was like, oh, we really got to talk about that. It was just like, okay, here's something, here's something, here's something.
I'm like Thursday evening. I'm like, okay, what do we got? I got to start digging for stuff.
Yeah.
So I learned about a new Nicolas Cage movie, which we'll be discussing later. So that should be exciting. But Nick Cage, I don't know. He's had an interesting career.
He sure has.
Yeah, okay.
Well, he's a very interesting character.
He's an interesting actor. I've grown to like Nick Cage over the years. I remember going to see Face Off. Remember Face Off when that came out?
Yeah, but that is one movie of his I have not seen.
It's weird because that's one of the, how like sometimes you can somehow get roped into seeing a major summer movie 3 times because you go with different people and you don't want to be the wet blanket that says, well, I've already seen it a couple, Yeah. That happened with me in Facebook. I saw it 3 times in the theater. I have to rewatch it now to see if I'd like it, but you know what the conceit is, right?
Yeah.
It's Nick Cage is playing the criminal, and I think
John Travolta.
John Travolta's playing the I don't know, police officer, FBI guy, I think. Yeah, and he's on the hunt for the Castor Troy, Nick Cage's character, and I think Nick Cage's character gets knocked unconscious, but he has to find out where the bombs are, so they remove Nick Cage's face and put it on John Travolta's body, and then he goes into the prison pretending to be Nick Cage to find out information from Nick Cage's criminal goons as to where the bombs are laid in Los Angeles. And then Nick Cage wakes up from his coma and steals John Travolta's face. And anyway, I can't believe. Okay, you know what? The 90s. I complain about today's blockbusters, but some 90s ones.
I did hear though that the one good thing about it was that apparently the 2 actors did a very good job of playing themselves. Not each other, I should say.
Gotcha.
Like doing an impression of the other guy pretending to be them, if that makes any sense.
Yes, okay.
I mean, there is a subtlety of acting there that's kind of a skill that I think is very underrated, right? I mean, when you see a movie and you see an actor's performance and they show a range of emotions, they can affect a certain temperament or a certain accent, you think, okay, yeah, that's some skill. But when they can play like that, like I'm pretending to be someone else, pretending to be me, that's pretty impressive. And I'll point to, and don't laugh at me because I'm serious about this, like the daytime dramas, right? The soap operas.
Oh yeah.
There was an actress,
yeah,
Erica Slezak. She played Vicky on One Life to Live.
Right.
And a recurring motif in her character was she had a multiple personality disorder. So she would go from playing Vicky Lord to, I think, Nikki Smith or something like that, the evil twin or whatever, right? And she was so good at that role. Not only could she go from playing the one to playing the other, but she could play the evil twin pretending to be herself, and you could kind of tell. I mean, you might not tell right away, but as things would develop in the storyline, you'd be like, she's not really, the bad one. She's the bad one pretending to be the good one.
That's funny.
It was really I consider that impressive.
There's some good actors on soaps.
Yes,
I'll never pick on soaps. But to pick on soaps is kind of the jerk thing to do. Like it's like people attack wrestling. Oh, it's not real. Yeah, I know that, but there's still skill in what they do. Okay.
Yeah, and that's again, I think a failure to be critical about what is it that you're condemning about it. Most of the time, what your real problem is the writing and or directing. Two very different things, so it might be completely separate. Don't blame an actor. Like, I've said this constantly. You didn't like the Star Wars sequels? Fine, okay? You didn't like Rey, Palpatine? Fine. That's not the actress's fault.
No.
You didn't like Rose Tico. She was a useless character. I agree. Blame the writer for that. Don't blame the actress, because everything else I've seen her in, she was spot on.
I mean, we had other well-known actors, and there's still a bad movie like Oscar Isaac and Laura Dern. Okay, I mean, I'm not picking on any of the actors in those movies. It's usually if you're acting in a Hollywood movie, with some exceptions. Shia LaBeouf, you're usually good.
Yeah. We just recently, we're looking at Indiana Jones. So excellent point. Oh gosh, I mean, speaking of Sean Connery, he's been in some real stinkers, but that takes nothing away from his talent, right?
Sometimes you go to see a movie based on the actor that even if the movie's not so good, at least the actor was all right. Netters, are you going to say hello to the chat? I sort of did in the beginning.
He did, for the people that were here on time when we started.
Oh, it's all right. Chris P, Chris P, Melissa Harrison, Sons of Horizon Talker, welcome. Anyone else who I might have missed?
And of course, hi to you new people that are late.
Of course, hi Nanette. Okay, as always. Okay. But I'm just thinking though. I don't know. We're kind of chilling. This is our Jeb Bush
laid back.
We're low energy tonight. I'm kidding. I'm being mean.
I'm kind of low energy too. It's absolutely true. We're in the green room chatting, and it's like, how you doing? Yeah, I'm fine. How are you doing? Yeah, I'm
fine. Yeah, fine.
Haven't even had any alcohol.
I think you and I have both been pulling double duty on things this weekend because I've been doing other
stuff. It was a
too.
busy week for us, wasn't it?
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
It wasn't a busy news week. It was just a lot of things going on this week.
Exactly. So, anyways. John Travolta pretending to be Nick Cage, pretending to be John Travolta. Brilliant.
Right?
I know. There's a...
That's exactly what it was.
There's stuff in that movie you can't get away with in a modern blockbuster. Like they were singing "Glory, Glory, Hallelujah," and then I think Nick Cage is grabbing this this one choir girl's. It looks like he's grabbing her butt and like like he's doing his Nick Cage face, and it's just I don't think you get away with that today. Probably not.
No,
but of course he's the villain. That's the whole point. But anyway, he's funny in that movie too as the bad guy. I almost feel a little bad when they do switch faces because I preferred Nick Cage as the bad guy to John Travolta, but not that John Travolta was a great actor, but yeah.
I think the reason I steered away from that is because you know how I can get about suspending my disbelief. And it's just, that's like, no, I have a real hard time with, that's why I had a real problem with the show Nip Tuck too. It was like, you're talking about fantasy here. You're not talking about science.
Oh, that went off the deep end after a couple. It was funny though. Did. I watched it, but there was a scene where I think the woman that played Stifler's mom ended up. I don't know if she played a woman getting like breast implants, but I think she knocked Christian Grey out with them. Wasn't that a story in the news? Someone getting knocked, and it's ridiculous. That show was ridiculous. Anyways,
yeah.
Clean stream. Hello, Rosefire. Good to see you. Okay. Hello and good evening, everyone. Got my cream soda. I'm ready to go. Oh, you didn't ask me what I'm sipping on, dude.
I know what you're sipping on. A cream soda.
No, that's her. That's her. Rosefire is drinking.
Oh, okay.
I have an orange Fanta. Okay.
Oh, don't you want a Fanta? Yeah, I got my diet squirt tonight. Just it's a school night, so I don't want to.
I felt so bad. You were mentioning last night, and I'm glad I didn't say this on last night's stream when you were saying when Netter was saying go to my own stream and type in I want Alita if you want a chance to win Alita Battle Angel. Mm-hmm. And I felt tempted to say if I write I want Rosa Salazar, will I have a chance to win Rosa Salazar? Oh, wait a minute. I didn't have to come. Oh, I meant to keep that quiet. Okay. Anyway, I like Rosa Salazar.
I dig
wish
it.
she'd
No,
be in
she's
more
awesome.
things. Wish she'd be in more things. Anyways. Okay. So we're gonna talk about the good old days. Let's knock this out of the park.
Okay.
VCRs.
Gosh. Yeah, see, this is VCRs for old geezers like us. We remember a time before there was a practical way to record your media at home, right? You would, if you weren't home to watch a show, you'd miss that show. And you had to hope that it was something that would be rerun later in the season. And if it wasn't, you were out of luck. Which kind of falls into the whole storyline with the whole Star Wars holiday special. If you weren't home that night in November when it was broadcast, you missed it, and you never got another chance to see it ever again.
They didn't make it a yearly thing. They showed the Star Wars holiday special.
Nope. It was one and done and never returned again. And that was sad. But the reason we have it today was because there was at least 2 people in the country who had, I'm not even sure they were VCRs at the time. They may have been VTRs. But the important point is they had a form of home media recording system that they were able to record it and preserve it, and we still have it today. Otherwise, it would have been completely lost.
Because George Lucas wanted to bury that thing.
Absolutely. And I kind of understand why. In fact, my understanding is that the highest quality version of it, one that comes out of Ohio, was because they actually found an original studio VHS tape of it at the Ohio affiliate that had shown it. It just sat there all this time, and someone found it and did a restoration of it. And that's why it exists. But it exists with all the commercials that were shown in Ohio at the time. So that's actually kind of a neat thing about it. Sometimes having these old commercials in with these old shows is kind of interesting. But yeah, prior to the late 70s or so, no way to record a show,
Yeah. I remember,
at least not for the commercial audience to do it.
No, I remember having we had a top loader. That was the first kind we got. Video cassette recorder, okay?
Yep.
We had a top loading one, and you press down. You had to push it down. In some ways, that was better because those didn't wear out as much as the ones that you had to stick it through the side, even though those look neater. We had a top loader, and it didn't even have a remote with it. They didn't have remotes when the VCRs first shipped out. You had like a wired remote you could do that hit play or pause, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And another thing you could do when you're like recording your show or your Star Wars special, you could hit record, and then it goes to commercial, hit pause, and then you hit the button again, and it goes back to record. You better be paying attention because you might forget to do one or the other, which happened to me.
Yeah.
Oh, and you would miss portions of it.
Yep.
There were you remember the 3 speeds?
Yeah, there was extended play,
SLP, which was the one that took up to 6 hours.
Standard long play or something like that, and
lowest quality. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
And I think SP was the best quality, but that only could take up 2 hours of speed.
So it was a question of, because when they first started, those individual tapes, the blank tapes, were pretty expensive.
2 hour, 4 hour, 6 hour.
Yeah, 2, 4, and 6 hour. So you could do it on high quality and get a full movie, like if you were recording a film off of HBO or something like that.
Not if the movie was over 2 hours, and then you'd be in trouble.
You'd have a problem if it was over 2 hours. That's a good point.
This happened a lot of the time. I think my dad originally recorded Fiddler on the Roof, was messing around, and of course, it got cut off because that movie is way over 2 hours long. Okay.
Of course, the nice thing about like HBO or whatever is you'd have that movie showing over and over and over again. So you could do it, at best quality up to 2 hours. Note at what point it cut off, and then like the next showing in 2 hours, you start recording at that point, and then it would be a two cassette recording, but you had the best quality you can get on VHS anyway. If you really wanted good quality, though, You had a Betamax.
Yeah, Betamax. Yeah, that was a. It's funny if you ever watch the movie Autofocus. I think William Dafoe plays a guy who was trying to. His big thing was he introduced John Crane to the VTR, which, like you said, was literally a videotape recorder.
Yep.
And he's like, I can help you hook up the new VTR. And he's like, no, that's okay. Oh, you're going to beta, aren't you? Everyone's going to beta. And he was very angry. That's a disturbing
That's
movie.
another one of those, and this is one of those history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes kind of situations. There was that whole war between VHS and Betamax. Mm-hmm. Betamax actually being the better quality commercial product for a number of reasons. But VHS just happened to make the correct connections and licenses and ended up winning that war.
That happens. We had that more recently between HD DVD and Blu-ray. There was a big fight. But they even make there's even a little diatribe in the movie Tropic Thunder if you watch it. And the guy's trying to talk to the Robert Downey Jr. character, and he's explaining about and then the Robert Downey Jr.'s like, wait a minute, you talking to me? I don't want to hear this. He's got really angry, like, don't talk to me about this nonsense. It's like, Rosefire, I remember a few occasions trying to record Sailor Moon on VHS while it aired on Cartoon Network and failing. I just waited to grab random episodes on VHS at Blockbusters.
Yeah.
I have to admit, some kids, they have their little prodigy moments, okay? And some learn how to master the violin or, do complex computations. And I knew how to program the VCR. Yeah. That was my big talent, which has served me well to this day. Okay. Anyway, no, I knew how to set up timers, and I could record Sailor Moon, which I did. Okay.
Yeah.
Off Cartoon Network and even the earlier syndicated shows. And I used to record all sorts of things. I used to record Inspector Gadget. Remember Inspector Gadget? Okay.
Inspector Gadget.
I knew how to set up timers. The worst Doctor Who I used to record, the old BBC series, right? When they would show that, and I would try to fit 3 on a tape, right? Because of course I'm a kid. I'm lucky my dad even buys me 1 VHS tape, so I'm going to try to put 3 on at once, right? So I would put 3. In fact, I don't know if I'd get into trouble for using all the VHS tapes in the house recording adult Doctor Who episodes, but I would record one, and then I would record another one right after another one. One time, it really messed me up because I believe it was a Tom Baker episode, and I believe it was the season finale where Layla, right? That was the Jungle Girl, right? That was with him.
Oh,
the second companion, was that her name? Leela.
Leela, yeah.
Leela, okay, yeah. And that was her last episode. And I missed the last 2 episodes because it wasn't a 4-parter, it was a 6-parter. Oh. They did something very clever with that episode back in the day. I think there was an alien race invading Gallifrey, and Tom Baker has to stop them from invading Gallifrey, and he finally stops them, and they're off to get in the TARDIS, and then there's a Centauran standing right there, and then, that other race, they were working for the Centaurans, and now the Centaurans are invading, and the last 2 episodes was him going up against the Centaurans that were trying to invade Gallifrey because, the Centaurans want time travel technology. That was kind of a running thing on Doctor Who. And, of course, he stops them, but that was another 2 parts, and I missed it because I didn't record for the proper amount of time. I used to hate it when that happened. Or stupid PBS is having one of their telethons. And
that was killer for recording purposes, yeah. Yeah, you're
power
absolutely
outages.
Right.
You set the AM instead of the PM, so I would make mistakes recording things.
Yeah,
and that would bug you if you're like recording shows and you're wanting to see, because especially if you're a kid coming home from school, sometimes they would air those shows at 4:00, but then like your cartoons, but sometimes they might air them earlier. And how are you going to watch them? Well,
here's the interesting thing about that. Even before, okay, so you're talking about like late 70s, early 80s here.
I'm saying early 80s, yeah.
But keep 82. In mind, the Doctor Who goes.
We got one in 82. Mm-hmm.
Right. Doctor Who goes all the way back to the early 60s, right? So, there was a time literally before it was even possible for the average person to, even if they were very wealthy and owned the very first VTR, there was a time before that. And the best you could do if you wanted to preserve that episode of Doctor Who for yourself was with a little audio cassette recorder and record the audio and tell everyone in the room to be quiet because I'm recording Doctor Who. I don't want to hear the sound from the dining room or whatever, right? and you literally would record it off the air. And to this day, that is why the audio recording of every single Doctor Who episode exists. There are a lot of lost episodes for a lot of reasons. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there about why that happened, why old shows were shown, maybe they got rerun once and then the tapes were wiped. So those episodes are no longer available. But the audio of every single one exists because there were fans who, were early adopters of own physical media, and that was the best they could do. Yeah. So they had their own, in quotes, illegal copy of the audio. And at a certain point, when the BBC realized how valuable Doctor Who was and how tragic it was that what was lost, they put out a call to fans and said, look, we know that technically, you're not supposed to do it, but we won't prosecute. We don't mind. We would like, if you've done it and you think you have a really good copy, send it to us so that we can digitally remaster it and have a full library of it. And then they, of course, it's theirs. They don't owe anybody anything, and they turn around and they put out all the audio CDs of every episode.
You know what else the BBC has done, which I find interesting? They have done animatic episodes where they actually will take, like the first episode of Patrick Troughton, they were able to construct by making kind of a cartoon. And they used the audio from the episode over it. And then I was watching it. I was really depressed while watching because I realized this is like so much better than most things I've watched today on TV.
I know.
But
they were actually called telesnaps. And what they actually were was the actors themselves would oftentimes hire a professional photographer to come in and take photo snaps of the show as they're going for their own personal portfolio.
That's probably how they were able to reconstruct some of those scenes.
And that's why we now have the Doctor Who restoration team has gotten access to a lot of those different telesnaps. And what they'll do is they'll take those telesnaps, sometimes from multiple sources, put them together in the equivalent of like a PowerPoint presentation type of thing, like a slideshow or whatever. Sometimes they get a little bit clever and they do like simple like movement of the Dalek, like getting bigger or zooming in or whatever, but superimposed with the actual audio from the show. And when there's something happening, some action that is not represented by any kind of dialogue, you have no idea what's going on if you have a static picture. So sometimes they'll just do a little caption that says the Doctor and, his companion rush off to try to find whatever, So that's why those exist today. But yeah, that's why I guess it comes down to, I happen to be of that generation that was young when we first started getting commercial VCRs. They weren't, even when the machines were cost effective to get, and they were, because it was like it was kind of a loss leader for the industry. They want you to have the VHS out there so that they could market the tapes themselves, so that you could have rentals and then eventually buying the things. And so they'll take a loss getting that machine in your house. So that's how most people got VCRs to begin with. Mm-hmm. And then you had two choices. You had the ability to record what a TV show you loved or a movie that you liked that you wanted to keep, and then you just break the tab so you didn't accidentally record over it again.
Yeah, you had to do that.
And write a label out that said what it was and put it up on a shelf. Also, you had video recorders, like you kids nowadays, you use your phones, I'm sure. But back then you had these big cameras that you'd stick a tape into and you would record, your wedding or the bar mitzvah or,
graduation.
Hey, some couples, the honeymoon, none of anybody's business, what people did behind closed doors. There's.
I'm thinking of that urban legend where the couple's staying in the honeymoon suite they're staying in the suite that they went to on their honeymoon. And then there's a I guess they rent
Hidden
a
cameras, they exist. It's not an urban legend.
Okay, well they rent I think they rent a pornographic video to kind of help get things along. And then they see what's on the screen, and it's them from like 10 years ago or something. And they
an urban legend.
I know it is.
But in the modern day, this is why you got to be careful where you stay when you stay at a public house. But check and make sure there isn't something seedy going on there, because there are actual stories, not just urban legends, real news stories of people that have, as adults do, checking out the interwebs and seeing somebody they know or seeing themselves from a certain vacation going, oh, that's not right.
Yeah. No, that isn't right, and that's a little disturbing that happens. But that's the problem with the VCR. It's much like the internet is today. It was a tool for good and a tool for evil. It's like,
well, right. I mean, you take a photograph or you take a video recording. That could be used as evidence later if it's ever found, and in theory, it can be duplicated. So you don't want that. Yeah, the internet's worse. But,
it is.
But it's the same basic concept.
Also, like the videotape, the internet people are trying to use it as a means of preservation of information, but we'll see how well that's going.
Yep.
This is interesting. Oh gosh, YouTube has a bunch of Tsunami promos from when Sailor Moon was on Cartoon Network. Nostalgia just kicks you in the ribs. I watch those promos a lot. These old Tsunami promos, because you lose stuff when stuff gets out on DVD. Like you lose the commercials, or like I think even the X-Files. I love the X-Files, but I think in my Voodoo copies they don't have the previews for the next week's episode that you'd always get on the old X-Files episodes. The little things you lose. Yeah. So it's cool that these things get preserved on YouTube and places like that. But I just not too. We could probably go on and talk about the VCR for 3 hours, but I'm going to say this. Was the first movie I watched on videotape? Star Wars.
Nice.
No, my dad recorded it. I think the night we got the VCR was one of his early recordings, and he's like, I think I might even have said something. Dad showed. I think I was like 4. I think I saw Star Wars was going to be on Showtime, so he just recorded it. And I'd never seen it. I knew of Star Wars, but I hadn't seen it, and I watched it. And then I watched it again, and then I watched it again. I would watch it almost all the time when I got home from school. I would watch Star Wars again. Yeah. I knew that movie almost by heart by the time I was 5
I did too. Yeah. I did the whole audio recording thing when it first played on television, with limited commercial interruptions, and it was unedited. I did an audio recording of it, and it was the first time. And Mom was totally behind me. Keep everyone quiet so I can get that recording. And I played it over and over and over again. And to this day, that's why I can literally recite to you the entire original Star Wars.
Do you know what first question popped in my head after I watched the first Star Wars? Where's Yoda? Because I was a kid, I didn't realize Yoda wasn't in the first Star Wars movie, but I knew of Yoda because Empire was a huge deal.
That's right. I think I might actually be a couple of years older than you, and I
you are. I was a
Star
child,
Wars Empire Jedi, and let's face it, I was real into those toys at the time, so a lot of the lore comes from the toys. You remembered which figures came out with which movie even before the movie came out.
Oh, Matthew Flynn has a good. The BBC cooperating with its viewers. Are we talking about the same company?
Yeah.
It wasn't so long ago when they were pretty good. Okay.
Yeah.
They changed really last 5 years. It's almost like the same trajectory of what was happening over here in North America. Same thing. It's the whole, or United States can't. It's all the same thing. It's all.
Yeah.
It all got infected around the same time, but though I imagine the scenario is different with the BBC as it is for Hollywood.
Yeah,
it's
BBC used to be a lot like Lucasfilm under George Lucas, right? Yeah. There was things you weren't supposed to do. They knew you were going to do it, so they found ways to not, quash the fans, but still, exert themselves. So the way Lucasfilm would do it is they'd go to conventions and they would see what kind of bootleg knockoff props were being put out. They may or may not have hit people with cease and desist orders, but what they would immediately do is turn around and license a company to put out the blaster, the lightsaber, the whatever, and with electronics and at a an affordable price. Now, why am I going to go spend $300 on a clunky resin, blaster that doesn't do anything? It's just a lump of plastic that I need to paint myself. Or for, $25, I get a reasonable facsimile that's much lighter because it's hollow and it has electronics inside. So when I pull the button, it goes,
I like that. Yeah.
So that's what Lucasfilm used to do. And then BBC really used to listen to their fans at one time and say, okay, this isn't working. We gotta stop and retool. I mean, the outcry when they decided to really change up the whole personality of the Doctor during the Colin Baker era. Even here in the United States, that's when separately, even though Nanette and I didn't know each other at the time, we both stopped watching Doctor Who because we couldn't stand the Colin Baker Doctor. And the ratings dropped so badly, they said, you know what? We're going on hiatus. And they went on hiatus for a long time. You
didn't like the fact he was so abrasive with the companion.
So abrasive? He tried to murder her.
He had a rough
That's more than abrasive.
I think the point was he had a rough regeneration.
Yeah, he did. And I, in retrospect, looking back on it, you kind of see what they were going for. Even Colin Baker has said at conventions, it kind of hurt him too because people were mad at him about it. And
he didn't want to wear that jacket. He got mad. He said he was going to wear a suit. They said, it got the outfits got more and more and more outlandish, and it got more and more stupid. And let's face it, we're talking about something that is kind of geeky and people were picked on for being into in the first place, right? It gets that garish, it makes it even that much more of a niche. So I mean, obviously they grew since then, but they did the intelligent thing. They stopped, they retooled, they got new writers, they fixed it, right? Mm-hmm. And some people say that the Sylvester McCoy era, for some of the people in the 80s, that was their favorite era. And then they started making some other really stupid mistakes, and you had a big anniversary at that time that they just punted on. Yeah,
that really upset the fans.
What was that Nightmare in Silver? No, that wasn't Nightmare. It was something. We had the Cybermen in it. I remember that.
There was. Yeah. I think it was. I want to say it was the 20th anniversary. Maybe it was the 25th. I forget.
I remember.
But it was
25th.
After another hiatus when Sylvester McCoy was still technically the Doctor, but it was kind of after his run, and they did a. I think it was a Children in Need special or something like that. It was called Dimensions in Time. And yes. they did it to bring back all the villains, all the heroes that they could, and every incarnation of the Doctor and the companions, and it was a flippin' mess. There was no thought that went into this. They just threw everybody into a blender and hit what the F.
Didn't they introduce them to the EastEnders people too?
Yes, they had them. They had them over.
That's not the same audience, guys. That's
it absolutely was not.
Like
it
Star
was
Trek meeting Knots Landing. Okay,
that is a perfect example. That is a great analogy. It made zero sense, and it starts making you wonder. Is EastEnders in the same, universe as Doctor Who? And if so, it doesn't really work. It really doesn't work when in other Doctor Who episodes, the Doctor Who talks about how much he enjoys that TV show. And, so is it a TV show? Is it real? What the heck is it? But
it doesn't make any sense. And what else did I want to say?
But what really made it was in 3D. That's what made it really. No, it was terrible.
Okay,
it was just
that sounds terrible.
Even the 3D was terrible. So what did they do? They went on a very long hiatus after that, before making another attempt by reaching out to Fox in the U.S. and doing a TV movie that was actually fairly well received in Britain.
It didn't get great ratings over here, so Fox didn't go through with it. It was going to be a joint production.
There were problems. Yeah. There were problems.
I love Paul McGann as the Doctor, though. I wish like you said, though, he starred in a lot of big Finnish productions, but I would have loved to have seen him.
He was a great Doctor. Yeah. He just didn't, have the right material to work with.
Yeah.
So then they went on hiatus again until the 2005 when Russell T Davies picked it up and ran with it, and it was again gold.
Yeah.
So all the times that they've taken a break, gone back, retooled, listened to the fans, they were doing great.
And they need
time to do that again, BBC.
They need to take a break now. Okay.
Yep.
And we'll see if they can bring it back or not, but give it at least a good decade. I'm sorry.
I know, right?
What else was I going to say, though? There's a question here from Rosefire. You can also answer this too, Troy. Who is your favorite companion in Doctor Who? Mine is Jo Grant, the second companion of John Pertwee's Doctor. She's my favorite. She was adorable. I'm sorry. She shows up her first episode, and he's all angry because the last companion he had was Liz, and she was a scientist, and she's like, "Who's this?" And like, I took advanced science at A level, and he says, and later on she doesn't understand. So I thought you said you took advanced science at A level, and so she says, "I didn't say I passed it." No, she was funny, very down to earth girl. I think she actually did a guest star on that Sarah Jane Adventure show too.
Yeah, and that leads into my favorite. Yeah. Sarah Jane Smith is always going to be my favorite.
She's good too.
Especially her returning in the David Tennant era, and kind of bridging that gap for us. That made her, to me, the quintessential companion, right? Because what is the companion? The companion is always the audience insert to bring you through some sort of a transition, so that there was some continuity between one doctor and the other, right? Mm-hmm. Well, Sarah Jane Smith, when she appeared as a guest in that one episode, literally bridged the two eras of Doctor Who, established them as being canonical. I mean, it was alluded to and inferred and assumed, but this solidified it.
It's kind of like when I was watching Justice League Season 1, and you were this is related to the other DC series, right? And then we get to see, okay, now stuff starts coming in from the older series, because I think they are trying to establish it for a new audience, so they don't want to be too wrapped up in the past, but then they can bring the stuff in later. Yeah.
And that was, and they did it, I felt, at the perfect time, right? Because you had so many new fans who, whenever an old-time fan would say, "I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'm not sure how that jives with canon and continuity." And they'd be like, "Well, just get over it. It's not your Doctor Who. This is something new. Just get over it." And then along comes Sarah Jane Smith, and you know what? It is all continuity, and
there you go,
absolute. And when, and I'll tell you what, this is really why David Tennant is, if not my favorite Doctor, he's my favorite actor as the Doctor. His enthusiasm comes through, and what is his last line? He's like, my Sarah Jane Smith. And I'm like, yes, that is what the Doctor would say, you know?
Yes. Time travel is for immortals and fools. What?
Yes, we were just talking about that today with Ben. That was a great line.
Okay.
That was a great line.
But Rosefire had a comment here. I didn't want to address this. I'm still anticipating a Doctor episode where the Doctor goes on the set of a Hitchcock film or Twilight Zone episode, and weird things start to happen. They had an episode during the Matt Smith era where we were trying to figure out which the Dream Lord shows up, played by the great Toby Jones, right? And he's saying, "Call me the Dream Lord," and it's basically, what is real? Which story is real? The one where something bad is happening in the TARDIS, or when they're doing something with aliens on Earth, right? And I thought, wouldn't it be brilliant if later the Dream Lord shows up again, and one episode, and what's reality? Are you the actor Matt Smith playing Doctor Who on a show?
Oh,
and that would make it look like an old 60s
very meta.
Too.
Yeah, that would be great.
And I would make the episode actually look like an old 60s episode. In fact, I might even set it in the 60s and like the old Troughton era, and like he's fighting like some kind of boxy monster or something.
Yeah,
and you're like, what is real, the show or the scenario? Like, am I the actor or is the scenario real? Do you understand? And it would be. I don't
like
know
that idea. Yeah.
I thought that would have been a cool way for them to go if they brought the Dream Lord back. There could be another which scenario is right.
And maybe this is a question to ask one of the other Doctor Who fans in the stream, because I'm just not remembering. But was there ever a time that alluded to the possibility that there was a Doctor Who show within the canon of Doctor Who? I know of one possible reference, but it was more of a joke than an establishing thing. There was on the TV, there was a broadcast from BBC. I think it was the Beatles or something like that. And after, this bit that they were showing, and now the new show from BBC Three or whatever it is, Doctor, and then it cuts off. And it was an actual sound clip from the original recording that they were showing, and it was supposed to go into Doctor Who. So it implies that they were about to show Doctor Who within a Doctor Who episode, but that's clearly not, that in and of itself doesn't make it canonical that Doctor Who is a show within the world of Doctor Who.
That's true. And I also think of the Adventures in Time and Space movie about the making of the original Doctor Who, where the actor kind of sees Matt Smith in the thing. That just might have been like, I don't know if that was supposed to be a meta thing or just like, a nod to, okay, this is the past Doctor, here's the present Doctor, blah, blah. I don't know.
Which is interesting, because then you do have the episode where, what's his name? 12. The last Doctor. The last actual Doctor. Capaldi, yeah.
Yes.
Where he and the first Doctor have an encounter. It was the same actor that played him in.
Great actor to pick to play William Hartnell's Doctor. Definitely. Rosemary makes a point. Imagine the Doctor meeting Alfred Hitchcock or Rod Serling. I'm surprised they didn't have the Doctor meet Alfred Hitchcock, because he's a famous British persona. I mean, he met Agatha Christie. I know they did that episode where he met Agatha Christie, but who knows?
Well, probably the reason they've never done Alfred Hitchcock was because the actor that they probably would have used for Alfred Hitchcock has already played Winston Churchill, so they might not want to do that again.
That's right. Yeah, let's not go there. Anyways, we should probably get to the news, even though this is nice and light and fun, and I could talk good things about old school Doctor Who.
Probably a better show than talking about what's going on in the real world. We may have to become, the nostalgia geeky geezers.
We may end up getting there if the news is as bad. Because I've been noticing lately too, when I'm thinking, it's like, it's just getting. I'm going from being outraged to just getting bored with this stuff. But actually, this first story is important, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Carrie Fisher getting Hollywood Walk of Fame star in 2022, and I have to say, kind of about time.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, she had that unfortunate passing away, but
as I was doing the thumbnail for this, doing a little bit of research and whatnot, I saw somebody had up a picture of, ostensibly it was Carrie Fisher's star, and I'm like, she hasn't gotten it yet. Why is there a picture already in existence? And I went and checked it out, and someone had done a mock-up, not a very good mock-up of it, and it was part of an article from shortly after she died saying it's going to be some years before she gets a star. And I didn't read the article. I didn't find out why. But I did use that as the premise, as the base for my thumbnail, and I kind of redid the bad work they had done on it, and I used her father's star as a reference.
Yeah, that's
Carrie,
cool.
Eddie Fisher.
Mm-hmm. I can read a little bit from the article. If you, Carrie Fisher received a posthumous star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2022. While Fisher has had a number of roles throughout her career, she will perhaps be most remembered for playing the iconic role of Princess Leia Organa in the Star Wars franchise. She first played her in the original Star Wars trilogy, starting at just 19 years old. Wow. Was young, huh?
Yeah.
Along with acting, Fisher was a screenwriter and activist, frequently praised for speaking publicly about her experiences with mental illness and drug addiction. She would return to her legendary role years later for the Disney sequel trilogy, with 2015's The Force Awakens and 2017's The Last Jedi, much to fans' excitement. Well, we were excited to see her back, but again, like I said, we were saying, I think early in the stream,
seeing her return, much to the fans' excitement, that part of it is true.
As always is.
We were excited to see her return to the role. We were disappointed by what they did with that character, but we were excited to see her return to the role.
Like we said, we're not attacking any of the actors in those movies yet, but it's at least not for their performances. It's the screenwriting. But anyway, let's Fisher's unexpected tragic passing in 2016 shocked the world, leaving her family, co-stars, and fans mourning her loss. The actress was only 60 years old when she passed away from complications arising from a sudden cardiac arrest. Just a day later, Fisher's mother, actress Debbie Reynolds, died at the age of 84 due to a stroke. Before her passing, Fisher had already filmed The Last Jedi, which was her final film and was dedicated to her. She appeared in the last film of the trilogy series, 2019's Rise of Skywalker, through the use of unreleased footage so Leia's story could be completed. Now Fisher is being honored posthumously with a Hollywood Walk of Fame star. Hollywood Walk of Fame announced its list of 2022 inductees who would receive stars along the famous walkway of Hollywood Boulevard and Vine Street in Los Angeles. Among the list of actors, filmmakers, and musicians, Fisher and late rapper Nipsey Hussle will receive posthumous stars. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I think it's about time, and I'm glad she's getting it, even if it's after her death. I'm glad they're giving her one.
Yeah, she absolutely deserves it, and I think a lot of people don't even realize how much she contributed to a lot of films you've seen without even realizing it. Not even films that she appeared in. I mean, obviously, Star Wars, Under the Rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
Lots,
The Burbs. One of my favorites, The Burbs. She was in The Burbs.
Absolutely. Even, what were those, Jay and Silent Bob, stuff like that.
Yeah, she would show up in those too, yeah.
But Postcards from the Edge, that was a big one for her, right?
Yep.
But she was a script doctor. She used to go in and she has done rewrites and fixes and whatnot on scripts that you don't even realize. She's in the credits, but who reads, who the editors were and stuff like that, or the contributions and stuff like that. And if you were to see Carrie Fisher, you might not oh, wait, that Carrie Fisher? Yes, that Carrie Fisher, Mm-hmm. And from what I've heard from people in the industry, there were a lot of scripts that were actually saved by Carrie Fisher. The movies that turned out to be, these great hits might not have been if not for her. And we don't even remember her association with those films. So that's the kind of thing that she brought to the film. And you don't even realize what she contributed to Hollywood. But beyond those things, there's the obvious reasons that we loved her. Yeah.
Long career. Sad to see her go. But, she'll be remembered. Okay. I mean, that's as close to immortality as we can probably get, at least on this world. Right. So, sad to see her go, but glad she's getting the star. And, that's some good news. Okay, moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, rumor.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I'm telling you, I keep forgetting we have three major competing superheroes. We have the DC, we have the Marvel, and then we have Sony Marvel. Okay,
yes,
so
we do.
Rumor Chameleon to play antagonist opposite Kraven the Hunter in upcoming Sony film. I think maybe I was not paying attention. I guess I heard rumors they are making a Kraven the Hunter movie.
Yes, apparently so.
Okay.
Which, again, just like Venom, I do not understand. How do you make a movie about a villain that is completely divorced from the hero he's a villain to?
I mean, maybe later in the comics, Kraven became more of a sympathetic character, maybe reformed himself. I mean, that doesn't happen
no.
from the get-go. Okay.
He never did. He was always a villain. I can't even... You could argue that, yes, eventually Venom became an anti-hero. Sure, fine. You can't say that about Kraven the Hunter. He was a villain. He was always a villain.
Well, anyway, we'll get ready for this Kraven the Hunter movie. A new rumor claims that Sony Pictures are looking to have longtime Spider-Man foe Chameleon play antagonist opposite Kraven the Hunter in their upcoming Kraven film. The rumor comes from the Illuminati's Braxter Timberlake. Is that a site, the Illuminati?
I have no idea.
Okay, who claims the Kraven production is currently undergoing a casting search for an actor to play Chameleon, a villain in the upcoming Solo film. Well, can he look like anybody? So what? Why? Never mind. Okay, because we're looking for an actor to play the chameleon. Anyway,
Yeah.
actually, they should get that guy who I keep forgetting his name. He plays Perry Mason now. He's on The Americans. That guy was a master of disguise. On The Americans, he could look like anybody. Okay, so maybe get him. But anyway,
I mean,
he was in that Mr. Rogers movie that came out. But
I just, again, you're wasting a Spider-Man villain by putting him in a solo film or I don't know. This just makes no sense to me.
okay, as for the type of actor that Sony Pictures is looking for, Timberlake claims they are targeting an actor in their 30s to play the villain role of chameleon. What's this? Their 30s? Is it? Never mind. Okay. Are they going to cast a woman as the chameleon, or are they keeping that open too? I
guess
don't know.
They want to avoid using male or female specific pronouns, so everyone becomes pluralized.
I guess. Chameleon, or Dmitry Smerdyakov, was created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko and first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man #1 back in 1963. Wow, that's a big deal. He was in the first issue. Okay. While he originally relied on his technology and costuming abilities, he eventually enhanced his abilities with a special face-changing serum. He's also used a holographic belt and special costume that allows him to duplicate clothes. The chameleon also has a special connection to Kraven the Hunter in that the two are actually brothers. Chameleon just happens to be an illegitimate child of the Kravinoff family. It's also Chameleon who invites Kraven the Hunter to America to hunt down Spider-Man. During this hunt, Chameleon would provide aid to Kraven, even disguising himself as his brother to fool Spider-Man. Do you know why Chameleon was useful to have as a villain in the Spider-Man comics? Because you'll have Chameleon dressing up as Spider-Man, right? Okay, doing some crime and in front of J. Jonah Jameson, but then Peter Parker's in the room, right?
Right.
So it's like...
Well, but the other thing too is that he, I remember the arc that introduced him, and he was very, very interesting because for the longest time you didn't know who he was, what his background was, and he could be anybody.
Yeah, and that's interesting. That's an interesting villain in a Spider-Man movie. Like, are they going to have any villains left over for the Spider-Man movie?
Well, that's just it. Is this going to be connected to the Venomverse? Because if it is, you already have Venom, Chameleon, and Kraven the Hunter in a whole separate universe from Spider-Man. Who's Spider-Man going to have left? He's going to have Doc Ock, the Vulture. That it?
No, also
Mephisto
Shocker.
Or Mysterio. I mean,
Shocker was
actually no. We're assuming villains. Well, can we assume that any villain that was used in previous incarnations of Spider-Man would be useful to Sony?
Do you think we'll have another version of the Vulture that isn't a Spider-Man villain in a Vulture movie?
Oh God,
I don't know. I know that they kept saying they're going to do both a Silver Sable movie and
I'm
a Black
telling
Cat
you,
movie.
this whole multiverse thing is going to destroy Marvel. It's going to destroy Marvel proper, and it's going to destroy the Spider-Verse.
Well, here's the problem. Disney has no control over any of this. Basically,
Disney doesn't have any control over their own property at this point.
But what I'm trying to say is if Sony wants to make 100 different Spider-Man movies and slap Marvel on the front of them, and the average, viewer goes in and says, oh, this is MCU. Wow, that wasn't that good. MCU's really gone downhill. What can Disney do about it? Now, Disney, of course, is having their own problems with the MCU, but this is not of their making. This is all Sony right here. This is them. I don't even know how much input Disney has over the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. Maybe they have some input. I don't know. Or is that just all Sony as well?
At this point, I don't even know anymore. It's so
okay.
confusing.
So, is there anything that could sell you on a Kraven the Hunter movie with him as protagonist?
There's nothing that can sell me on the Sony villainverse.
Maybe a bunch of tarantulas. Maybe a bunch of tarantulas chased his or a bunch of spiders, just chased his mom off a cliff, and he hates spiders ever since.
If this was a world where these properties were being done intelligently and these villains were being introduced into the Marvel Universe properly as villains to Spider-Man, then yeah, I probably could get behind this. And I think they could even draw some inspiration from the Game of Thrones faceless men, and just make it like he's his identity is completely unknown, even though we know what it is from the comics or whatever. That's fine.
But it would be cool if you could just find an actor who actually is one of those actors that can look like anybody. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And play with it that way. That would be interesting too. Like, none of these are bad ideas. Of course they weren't. They were in the classic Spider-Man comic books. It's just I don't see how this gets executed. And Leia Plus Size is agreeing with you. She's not confident at all of this multiverse stuff. Does Sony not know what to do with their heroes? But what heroes does Sony have access to? They have access to Spider-Man, which I think they currently have to share with Disney.
I'm sorry, Leia Plus Size. They don't even know what the term hero means, okay? When you have a character like Wanda Maximoff who can hold a town as meat puppets, torture them to the point that they would prefer to just die, and then just, I'm too powerful. I don't care. I've been hurt and I'm justified, and then just walk away with no consequences. They don't even know what the term hero means.
Well, that was Disney.
Wanda Maximoff is stunning and brave because she's a powerful female character. No, she's a freaking villain psychopath.
Yeah, so like it's almost like serial killer territory. Is that what you're saying? It's like,
almost.
Okay. I mean, actually, I think I made this argument. What was the difference in what she did and the Purple Man did and Jessica Jones?
Absolutely nothing. The only difference, chromosomes and not having something dangling between her legs.
Okay. And okay. So I'm curious about the Kraven movie. I look forward to watching the trailer and skipping the movie. I'm sorry. Anyway, but Sony's another animal from Disney. Sony's like, I can't defend Disney at this moment, though, because they're really messing up with these shows, at least from what I've heard. I haven't seen them. And now we have Sony doing the villain verse, where they have to have villains that aren't strictly villains. Otherwise, the audience can't root for them. Like, we can root for Venom as long as he just eats the heads of the criminals and not the regular people. Though I'm pretty sure he murders a police officer in the movie when he's first turning into the thing, and that doesn't get addressed later on. But oh well.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving along. Oh no, this is the story I don't like. I'm gonna get upset. Okay. All right. Well, are you familiar with Five Nights at Freddy's, Troy?
I am. Well, not that I've ever played Five Nights at Freddy's, but I do watch game theories, theories about the game, and it does sound very interesting. The lore behind it sounds incredibly compelling.
Apparently, this is the boomer talking right now. I really had no idea, at least not until recently, how big Five Nights at Freddy's really is with the younger set, okay?
Mm-hmm.
This is a big deal, I guess. I don't know if you want to say around the tweens or whatever. There are all kinds of novels set in the Five Nights at Freddy's universe. It's a big fiction thing as well as a game series. I know at some point someone's going to want to do a movie based off of it too. So it's not even just a game thing. It really is multimedia. I think it started out as a PC game.
It very much is multimedia. Yeah, it started out as with the original Five Nights at Freddy's, which was very much a very simple first-person horror game where you play a night watchman at Freddy Fazbender's pizza. It's basically Showbiz Pizza or Chuck E. Cheese.
Chuck E. Cheese, one of those.
It's a fictionalized
right, gotcha.
version. And the animatronics come to life and they're stalking you. And you have these weird mechanics where you can watch the rooms through the cameras, and sometimes the cameras would go out, so you would lose track of where these animatronics were in the establishment. And you could close this door, but you couldn't close that door, and you could see them looking at you through the window, and you always were trying to keep track of where they were, and you had no ability to fight back. You had to avoid and close doors and, barricade and all this kind of stuff and survive until morning. That was the whole game. But all of this lore has come out of it with these these books that have been released, kind of a la the Goosebumps types books that apparently are all canonical, and supplemental games and, you know, sequel games and whatnot. And I don't even remember what all. And I don't know. The kids really like it. It seems very entertaining. And I do think it would make for a great movie if it was done right. But I have zero faith in Hollywood to adapt.
Well, I have zero
like
faith in this situation because we have a story about the guy that created it this week.
Yes, we do.
And I didn't know much about the guy that created it. This is all news to me. But here, we'll just read the article. This is from Newsweek because I tried finding. Well, you know what? I didn't want to just do a bounding in the comics on this thing. I wanted to find something from a more general source, which might be even a little biased against this, just so we can get to the facts.
Sure.
Never mind. That doesn't make any sense what I just said.
No, I know.
I just picked an article from Newsweek. Okay. An animator who created the critically acclaimed horror survival video game Five Nights at Freddy's in 2014 has refused to apologize for his donations to conservative politicians, including former President Donald Trump. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Cawthorn, 43, from Houston, Texas, trended on Twitter after people searched for the animator on public political contributions website Open Secrets and discovered that he had donated to Trump and Senate Minority Leader and veteran Republican Mitch McConnell. The records were also revealed that Cawthorn donated to Democratic Representative Tulsi Gabbard, who drew criticism in December 2020 for pushing a bill that would ban transgender girls from competing in women's sports. So, yeah, that's been a whole thing in Florida, too. But anyway, they have to throw that in there, of course. Okay. Cawthorn's name and Five Nights at Freddy's trended on Twitter following the revelation, with some fans of the animator expressing their disappointment with his political leanings. Although he stayed publicly silent on the controversy for a number of days, which that's actually was a smart move. You don't feed into the mob. Cawthorn posted to the Five Nights at Freddy's on Reddit on Saturday in a statement titled "My Response and Maybe Last Post," where he confirmed that he has donated to Trump and claimed that people had threatened to come to his house after his address was posted online. To say that the last few days have been surreal would be an understatement. I've debated greatly how best to address this, including not addressing it at all. But with so many people from the LGBT community and the fan base that I love, that's not an option, Cawthorn began with the statement. The candidates I supported, including men, women, white people, black people, Republicans, and Democrats, he wrote. I supported Tulsi Gabbard, a Democrat, even though I disagreed with her on several issues, because I felt she would have been a good and fair president. And yes, I supported President Trump because I felt he was the best man to fuel a strong economy and stand up to America's enemies abroad, of which there are many. Cawthorn then explained his political leanings and refused to apologize, writing, I'm a Republican, I'm a Christian, I'm pro-life, I believe in God. I also believe in equality and in science and in common sense. Despite what some say, all of those things can go together. That's not an apology or promise to change. It's the way that it's always been. If I get canceled, then I get canceled. I don't do this for the money anymore. I do it because I enjoy it. If people think I'm doing more harm than good now, then maybe it's better that I get canceled and retire. I would accept that. I've had a fulfilling career. Besides, most things that people can take from you are things that never had much value to begin with. Following Cawthorn's statement on Saturday, the hashtag #IStandWithScott trended on Twitter as fans came to his defense and reiterated their support for him. One user wrote, Scott basically raised me during my childhood. His games were one of the reasons I started drawing. The fact people are threatening to dox him and kill him now is just sad. Another said, thank you, Scott Cawthorn, for making everything possible after all these years. And Scott, if you're reading this, I do believe you're an amazing person and you inspire me and even some of my friends to make the most of these Five Nights at Freddy's VHS content and more. Okay. All right. So, any comments so far, Troy? Do you want me to read the follow-up?
Yeah, I know where this is going because I've seen a lot of the commentaries this week. Because the follow-up on this is that he's retiring. He's,
Now, in his defense, he did actually mention that in the first response to this.
Exactly right. So he kind of set it up. He's and this is why, in my thumbnail, I said, he's just holding up his hands and going, F this S, I'm out. He doesn't care. He will not apologize. Take the victory, people. He is not apologizing, and he is walking away. Okay, this isn't really significantly different from what Gina Carano did.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't need this. I don't want it. I don't care. And I'm not apologizing. And what's going to end up happening over time as more and more people show the courage to stand up for what they believe and walk away from Hollywood, Hollywood is going to have less and less talent.
Yeah.
And you're going to get worse and worse crap being put out by Hollywood, and it can't last. It will go bankrupt. These companies are barely holding on as they are. Disney, the big, great, and powerful Disney. Yeah, you're going to see it. Something big is going to happen. They are really stretched tight.
Yeah, I think
Things
so.
are not going well for Hollywood.
They don't have a money tree. Okay.
And I'm picking on Hollywood, even though we're talking about a game developer, but any kind of the whole entertainment industry, games, movies, comic books, television, anything you want to talk about that's entertainment, people are getting sick of dealing with this political crap that has nothing to do with the job they're doing.
This
and they're
is
going, F it, I'm walking away.
This is political persecution. That's what this is. Okay.
Yep.
You have a right to support any presidential candidate you want to in this country, either side. Okay. You should not be persecuted. There have been candidates I haven't liked. I'm not going to go attacking someone for, throwing money at somebody if it's, in a fair and honest election, all this other stuff. This is just ridiculous. I do want to read a bit from his final message. You can find it on the website. I've had a blessed, fulfilling, and rich career. I've been shown great kindness, and I've tried to show great kindness in return. I try to make some good games, let the debate ensue. Okay. And I've witnessed the creation of possibly the most creative and talented fan base on the planet. So this is a guy that knows his fans. Okay. But here on the 7th anniversary of the first game's trailer, as I realized that I was in my mid-30s when I created the series, and now approaching my mid-40s, I realized I miss a lot of things that I got to focus on before Five Nights at Freddy's became such a success. I miss making games for my kids. I miss doing it just for fun. And I miss making RPGs, even though I stink at it all. All of this is to say that I am retiring. I have been shown tremendous love and support over this last week. A lot of that has come from the LGBTQ community. The kindness shown to me has been surreal. So yeah, obviously even the people criticizing do not represent the entirety of that community either. It's just, this is ridiculous though. I wish him the best. I hope he makes another hit series. Even if he doesn't, he's apparently has a large family. He's taking care of the kids, and he'll still be handing off the series to someone he chooses to. So
yeah. And as he pointed out, he's got the money. He can't look. I'm surprised that more people don't do this. When you are wealthy and you have a family, why do you become wealthy in the first place? What are your values? Okay. There comes a point where you go, you know what? I have more money than I'm going to spend in my lifetime. I have enough time. I have enough money to live comfortably. I'm going to spend as much time as I possibly can with my family because, damn it, life is short.
He's got 6 kids.
Yeah.
And his wife's expecting a seventh. That's one of the issues here is that his wife is expecting a child, and she was getting harassed on Twitter. They didn't just stop with him; they went after his wife as well. Okay,
yeah,
that's something that wasn't commented on in the Newsweek article, of course.
So
not.
People are going to say this is a victory for the SJWs. They win. I'm like, fine, if that's a victory that they want, let them burn their world down. Seriously, because that's what it's going to take before people start coming out and saying, look, I didn't support Trump, but I support anyone who did because, damn it, that's not a crime. And F you all that don't respect our Constitution and First Amendment.
And I have to say, some of these whistleblower sites like that's not something he was even public about what he did. They went digging for this stuff. Okay, yep. So
they are looking for reasons to ruin people for no reason.
I'm also going to say people on the left, once they're done.
You know what? If you want to ruin people, instead of going after who voted for Trump, maybe go out and find the pedos out there and start trying to bring them down. But no, nobody's doing that.
No, there's a lot of things people aren't doing. I am going to say this, though. When they're done with these fish, they're going after each other. You're going to start seeing it happen over the next few years. The left will start eating its own. At least not the far left.
It's already started.
SJWs, okay. But Okay. Oh, look at this. Troy Horizon Talker. Many people like Scott aren't in it for the money. He was a game developer because he wanted to make games. The money was kind of accidental. Well,
Yeah.
that just shows you wanted just to make a good game, and the money follows. See, this is the problem I have with Hollywood. A lot of I don't even know what they're in for now because I can't even say they're in it for the money. But at first, it was just make the quality product first. The money will come from that. Okay. That's how it used to be over there. Okay.
But that just underscores why he's doing what he's doing, and you cannot be surprised. This is not a fight he wants. He never wanted to, really go this route anyway. So something like this, it's like, screw it. It's not worth the effort. I don't care.
I think, yeah, and I'm not blaming him for that. I hope that take some time away, spend it with your family. I do hope he comes back and maybe even develops a new series or even does something new and creates a whole new series.
If he does this right, he could actually bring more to the world of FNAF than, actually making the games, right? If he could actually expand this. He could start doing he could do basically what we expected George R.R. Martin to do with, the Game of Thrones, write out the notes, oversee, have other people write the games, have other people write the books, which is kind of what's happening. Other people are writing the books, giving them notes, and helping to foster something bigger, that could actually be a very, very good thing.
So we'll see how this plays out over the years. I hope he's not out. I think he'll, but I get also the family, especially with another child on the way,
Yeah.
You got to do what you got. Family comes first before anything, but it's, okay, but let's see though. Rose Fair has a comment. You want to remember the good old days of Hollywood? Watch Critical Drink Review, Mask of Zorro, or Spy Who Loved Me. Yeah, you know what? I love both of those movies, so I will check those out. I do like him. He was talking about Picard this week, but we'll get to that ourselves a little bit. What else did I want to say? Oh, Chris P had a question. Have I tried other flavors of Fanta? This was early in the stream. I have not, just the orange. They don't sell the other flavors where I'm at, but I will have to look for them at some point. That's more of a beginning stream conversation, right? Okay. Anyway, moving on. Do you have anything else to say about this?
No, but there is something I did want to point out that we don't have a news article for, but I do think it deserves a shout out.
What?
On this day, 41 years ago, The Blues Brothers was released.
Oh. That's a classic. And who was in that? Carrie Fisher has a bit.
Carrie Fisher was
in
that. That's absolutely true. I wish I'd stumbled upon this little factoid while we were on the Carrie Fisher bit. But we'll be doing a watch party for the Blues Brothers probably in a month or two as we get into the bees on Netter's Network.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds cool. I do. I have to rewatch the Blues Brothers. I haven't seen that in years, but I think it was one of the earliest DVDs I bought. All right, so here we go. We have I don't usually talk about other YouTubers on this channel, but this was an interesting article, and he's been showing up a lot. He's been having some good content lately too. So I am gonna, like you do, not that.
Yeah,
more successful YouTubers need my
exactly.
Help, yeah.
I don't promote people because they need me to promote them. I promote them because I enjoy them, and I think my listeners will.
No
enjoy
matter how
them
big
too.
or small, basically.
Yep.
Yeah. But Young Ripa, he's a rather big YouTuber, and this has been a conversation. Okay.
Yep.
That's been going on. Okay, and okay. So, YouTuber Eric July called out actors and actresses who take on race-swapped and gender-swapped roles for Hollywood films and TV shows in a recent clip from his podcast For Canon's Sake. I like that title for that podcast, For Canon's Sake. July uploaded a video titled "Actors with No Integrity Are Accepting Roles of Tokenism." In video, July states, "Let's talk about those actors and actresses real quick. These guys have absolutely no integrity, which is why you should not take them serious in their advocacy for definitely something on the subject matter of race." He continued, "They take gigs and don't think people seem to understand that, or rather lose sight of it." You want to explain, if these black actors and actresses had actual integrity, for one, they wouldn't even be trying out for these gigs, because you do understand Hollywood, they have people in mind and they have certain attributes that they want the person. Okay, let's see what else he goes on to say. "What I'm saying is there's no such thing as a tokenization. and even the Kevin Feige's of the world have basically admitted all of this. But there's no such thing as a tokenization by way of the best actor or actress getting the job. That doesn't happen, he stated. July continued, which is why nowadays when you see it happen, they spin all the campaign trail of the actual film, promotional videos or show, all that sort of stuff. They lead with like, oh, well, look at this. If you need to mention, if you're going to cover this variety, we're going to give you this exclusive scoop. Here, make sure you mention the fact that they're black. Okay, but he goes on. There's a great video you can watch on this too. But let's see though. Anything else? Yeah, July then states, you see all these tokenizations that are happening in the live action setting. They're taking those gigs. They have no integrity, because if they were, they'd be the ones saying, you know what, I don't want to play a black version of a classic white character. I don't want to play a copy of a classic white character. There are mountains upon mountains of source material of original black characters that are associated with the big two that you can use, or you can create a new one. He has a point. What do you think?
Absolutely. I love Young Ripa. I love his content. He speaks truth to power, to use an old phrase, but in a good way. He's clear thinking. He's intelligent, and he says things that, well, a lot of us have said in different ways, and if not said, at least thought. You know. Yeah,
and I don't know. I don't know if I would go as far as he does, but you know, maybe he sees things better than I do. But July brings it back to the actors. See, this is why I'm saying that, though, to bring it back home, why you shouldn't take someone serious in their advocacy, because they're only doing what's advantageous to them. Later he adds, but the actors and actresses that fill these roles have absolutely no integrity. It's a paycheck to them. It is something that is a vanity project for them, often when they're on a production team, and it's something they can utilize to advance their careers. So they are going to take the gig. I'll be honest with you, I think that applies to almost everybody working in a lot of these superhero things these days.
Yep.
Especially what I was hearing in that writer being interviewed for his work on Loki. It's all about them. It's not about making the best series you can do. And he is right. There are a lot of black characters in these universes that haven't been utilized. And they were doing that in the beginning, and then suddenly they stopped, and now it's just, I don't know. What do you...
Well, because again, the people that are doing this are, first off, they're ideologues. They don't really believe the things that they say. They're going for the woke points, right? Because if they really cared, they wouldn't specifically be doing things with the intent of pissing people off, okay? They would be doing more films like Black Panther, okay? Black Panther, the reason it did so well was because there was nothing about it that pissed anybody off. Nobody had a problem with a black superhero main character where most of the supporting characters were black. Nobody cared. Nobody had a problem with that. But boy, you announce, you know what? No more white man. We're going to get rid of Superman and we're going to make him black. Now, a lot of people have a problem with that. Not just, you know, the fans that have known a character a certain way all these years, but a lot of black fans look at that and go, no, that's pandering. I don't want sloppy seconds.
Yeah.
That's not representation to me. That is you, a white person, because really these companies are still run by white people. You are giving me the scraps from your table. I don't want that. But these same people that are doing this stuff are the biggest racists. When you pander, that's exactly what you're doing. You're sloughing your crumbs and your refuse off your table and saying, here, you deserve reparations. Here you go. You get sloppy seconds.
But like he said too, though, that's them trying to win points. That's the quote unquote Hollywood producers that I'm sure just a few years ago were perfectly fine with casting couches and probably still are behind closed doors and all this other stuff. I also want to make a point, though. Remember the movie that brought back the superhero genre? It was Blade. Because Batman and Robin killed it. Remember Batman and Robin? Nobody,
I don't know of anyone who came out negatively against Blade. And if they did, it wasn't because the lead actor was black.
Blade
Not at all.
Blade is my second favorite superhero movie. First favorite is RoboCop, though, but yeah, Blade is number two, and I don't know, and I guess every now and then when it happens, it wasn't bugging me, but it just seems to be happening all the time now, and it's and I understand if they want to, maybe they want to have more diverse cast in these things out of quote unquote fairness, but like he said, there are plenty of characters in these universes, okay, that they can pull from.
Yep.
It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm trying to think what else. But yeah. Let's see what Delia Plus Size says. Seems they don't have respect for the role they have and the fans who love them. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to put... I mean, I am going to say this. There was a thing, Bounty in the Comics brought up this point, that there was an actor who was cast for the... I think it was a villain in a Hellboy movie, but the character was, I think, Asian, okay? And he decided, you know what, I'm a white guy, I'm not going to take that part away. And okay, fair enough. But we're not seeing the opposite happening a lot of times with other things, because there's an outcry when that happens, but then not the reversal. And I don't know, I think just keeping everything equitable. I don't know. I'm trying to think what else. Nope. Yeah, I don't know. I'm wondering too, I'll be honest with you, I don't know how much time the superhero genre has left in it in Hollywood movies. What do you think?
Honestly, it could, if they were doing them well, it could go on indefinitely, because this is the modern mythology, right? This is what people love. This was starting to bring not only fans to it, but other people were becoming fans because of it, because it was filling a need. It was filling a niche. People are starting to resent it because it's no longer filling that need. It's no longer inspiring. It's no longer a mythology. It is now, fire and brimstone preaching that nobody is interested in.
And I think that's really coming across, I guess, on these new shows they're doing for the MCU. DC's a whole nother can of worms, and, well, we have the Sony camp as well. But yeah, I don't know. Let me see, though. Like a plus size says, you can bring black superheroes to life, but they don't need to be race swapped like they are doing now, and I'm no fan of that. Yeah, I think that's where I think that's all the page we're on right now.
Well, and it all comes down to the same thing. This whole concept of representation on screen is BS. Okay, because I've never seen myself represented on screen, except maybe a little bit in John Belushi, maybe, or what's his name? The one that played the exterminator in Arachnophobia, John Goodman. A little bit, maybe. But the none of the heroes. I at one time I sort of resembled Bruce Willis, but I never saw myself represented, by his character in Die Hard. Well, I certainly didn't see myself represented in Christopher Reeve and Superman, except maybe in some character traits. I saw some character traits that I could kind of live up to, but that had nothing to do with what they looked like. Okay.
Yeah, and that's the thing. How do you see yourself? I mean, it's interesting because I was watching that Luke Cage series on Netflix, and I was remarking, I mean, I had never read the comics book, but I was remarking that really, I think out of all the characters in the MCU, the one that reminded me most of Superman was Luke Cage. Yeah. Personality-wise. I think he and Clark Kent would get along fine. Okay, they have.
And as I watched that show, there's no way I'm ever going to look like him. And I'm not just talking about skin color. I'm just talking, that guy's built like a brick house. And that's not ever going to be me. But I'd like to think that there's some character points there that I could emulate. Okay.
Exactly. Anyway, I don't think any thought is being put into these castings. That's my main issue with all of this. It's more like saying anyone can be this character, so no one can be this character, and then this character no longer exists.
Well,
That's
there's
what it
also
feels
a
like.
certain amount of laziness going on with these writers, right? They pick up these franchises, and what's the first thing they want to do? They want to change everything. Now, for the longest time, I thought it was they want to change it because this is anathema to them. They've got to deconstruct. They want to, preach at us and SJW-fy it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's it. I think it's something else even worse.
What?
I think it's they're not willing to do their homework and do the work to make it good. Okay, look at Star Trek. Okay, Nicholas Meyer did he directed arguably the best Star Trek film. Okay, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. He up front said I'd never seen Star Trek before. So I had to go do my homework, and I went and I watched every single episode of the original series. And he was like, oh, okay, I see what this is. In fact, maybe because he wasn't a fan and he was able to be analytical about it, he was able to see what it was with an objective point of view. So he brought some things to those movies that augmented and improved it. Because he brought in a little bit of the military protocol and the uniform and the, what goes into being in like the Navy,
Yeah.
the boatswain whistle, these kinds of things, right? He keyed into all that. But on a dramatic level, he got the interpersonal relationships between these characters for what they were. He understood the story, and it was brilliant. Okay. But what happens now is you've got these, JJ-ites out there, or people like him who go, oh, I don't want to be bogged down by all this canon and continuity and stuff. And I don't actually want to have to watch any of this stuff. Let's just make it up as we go. You know what? We change history, and from here we can do whatever we want. Well, that's brilliant. Now it's not Star Trek anymore.
Or
Okay.
or try to remake successful movies more badly, It's
Yeah,
like-
yeah. So that's it. And then, honestly, I think this is where we are with Loki. Okay,
Oh boy.
I would argue that the whole time cop thing in Loki is the people at Disney pointing the finger at the fans that say this isn't the canon of these characters. This is not what this is supposed to be. This isn't the way it was in the comics. You're not following continuity. They're going, we don't want to deal with your canon and continuity. We want to make it all up as we go. So we're going to have a whole multiverse where we do anything we want, and screw you.
It's all about me. That's what basically
Yeah.
I'm saying with a lot of these writers. It's all about me, and what we can make our thing, make the MCU irrelevant, and our thing is the real superhero
So
thing.
just
And
remember, every time you expect them to honor the franchise that they've picked up and stick to the established canon and the source material, they're putting the big finger up to you and saying you are, the bad, nasty, dictatorial people from, the Cold War era, like these villains that we've created.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be free to do whatever we want as artists. And we're like, you're in the wrong business then, dumbass.
Well, this is where we are. I don't think this can last forever, though, right?
No. People aren't going to see these movies. Yeah, you can do whatever you want. Not if you want to get a profit out of
The
it.
big thing that I'm curious as to whether or not how Black Widow is going to do. That'll be the first test, I think. We have to wait and see, though.
I know what I suspect. We'll see.
They can fudge the numbers on the TV series, but you can't really fudge box office.
No, you can't.
Okay, but next up, speaking of movies that I am looking forward to seeing,
Mm-hmm.
Nicolas Cage will do anything to get his beloved pet pig back in the new movie from Neon.
You know what? I'm at the point, when I first heard this, I thought it was a joke. And I was like, okay, who's going to go see this? And the more I saw, I saw the trailer for it and whatnot. By the end of it, I was like, there might be something here. And then they were talking about it on Midnight's Edge, and everyone basically had the same reaction. It's like, Nicolas Cage, trying to find his lost beloved pig, right? And they said, I bet this is going to be like a John Wick-esque kind of story. And I'm like, I could totally get behind that. And in fact, in a private stream, I was hanging out with the Latino Slant yesterday, Paulie from Midnight's Edge, and Tom Connors from Midnight's Edge was there too. First opportunity I had to talk to him, and he was like, "Oh, really? I thought we'd cross paths before." No, you've just read my super chats,
right,
so you thought you'd talk to me. But right. It was nice to meet the big guys and hang out at the cool kids table. But one of the things I said to them there is, I said, look, we spend all of our time bemoaning all the remakes and the reboots and the poorly conceived sequels. And we keep saying, stop, just make something new. All the things that we love, we loved them because they were new. And we, latched onto them. Make something new. This could very well be that. And we need to put our money where our mouth is and support it and say, look, we're willing to take a chance on something new. And Tom was like, God, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Well, even going back to Iron Man, I know for comic fans it was open for a general audience. They'd never heard of Iron Man before. They went to go see him because it was new.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of these heroes never got proper treatments on the big screen. But anyway, this movie, though, Nick Cage, okay. Let me read from the article, okay. Who Has My Pig? Neon will be releasing Michael Sarnowski's revenge thriller Pig this summer, with the distributor announcing this week that the Nicolas Cage movie arrives in theaters on July 16th. Check out the official trailer below, along with the new plot synopsis. While we were expecting another wild and crazy Cage flick from this one, it actually looks to be much more subdued and emotional character study of a man who doesn't have much left in the world beyond his beloved pet pig. And when that's taken from him, well, he may unleash that Cage rage. I am going to say this. A lot of us have not had a good year, especially the previous year, right? A lot of us have lost things. We've lost jobs. We may have lost loved ones. And we've lost a lot. And I can actually empathize with this character, who maybe the only thing he has in his life is his truffle hunting and his pet pig. Let me read this synopsis. Best movie synopsises you can usually sum up in one sentence. A truffle hunter who lives alone in the Oregonian wilderness must return to his past in Portland in search of his beloved foraging pig after she is kidnapped. This reminds me of a Thai action movie starring Tony Jaa called The Protector, and in that, a bunch of criminals steal his family's elephant. Okay, and he basically unleashes, a torrent of violence on these criminals that took the elephant, trying to get the because you don't do that, right? They and it's funny because they did an American cut of it where there's a scene in the movie where his father gets shot, and in the American cut, his dad died because they figured, an American audience would not be able to accept the guy unleashing all this violence just for an elephant being stolen. I call BS on that. I do understand. Animals mean a lot to people, and I like the pig in this movie. The pig is cute, and he's helping with the truffle hunting, and then the pig gets kidnapped. And I have some horrifying thought that maybe some star chef stole the pig to serve at his restaurant or something, and then I don't know how this is gonna end, but I'm curious. Okay, I'll put it to this: my interest is piqued. Okay, what do you think?
Even if it wasn't, I think I'm at the point where I'm going to support this just because it's something different. But yeah, I kind of am interested.
Oh, Melissa Harris, Nick Cage is no, not the bees. They're all over my eyes. You know what? I am actually going to even now defend the Wicker Man remake.
Yeah,
because it's not a great film. I'm not saying it is, but his performance in that is so over the top. It makes it a wonderful parody of the original movie.
Let's be honest about Wicker Man, okay? The original Wicker Man wasn't anything. The only reason anybody watches the original Wicker Man is Britt Eklund. And I hate to break this to you, those scenes aren't even really her. She's got a body double.
Wasn't she married to Peter Sellers?
Could be.
I think I heard that. Ooh, no. Uh, he was anyway. What was I going to say though? Yeah, the original Wicker Man. Here's another problem with the original Wicker Man. People say, "Oh, you haven't seen the true cut of it. You've seen the theatrical cut. You have to watch this cut." No, not that cut. This cut, and they're like five different cuts. It's another one of these things like Blade Runner, Close Encounters, which we did on Big Al's channel, where there are all these different cuts of it, and you have to watch the right cut. You know what? I don't care. I didn't hate the movie. Christopher Lee is good in it. It has
if it's really a good movie, you don't need multiple cuts. It's one, it's done, it stands on its own, it's a classic.
It has
I don't remember there being a special edition, added features to, I don't know, The Wizard of Oz. Okay. The Sound of Music, you know.
Well, yeah, but then there was the Blade Runner multi-cuts too. And you're going to say you like the original cut, aren't you?
I am.
Okay, we'll have that.
It stands on its own. It did not need to be recut. If you didn't like it, you shouldn't have done it.
Anyway.
Make the changes before you release it.
Okay, well, anyway. What was I going to say, though? But yeah, okay. Moving right along, Pig looks interesting. I do want to see it. And, Wicker Man, I don't know. It is considered the long lost classic, but I dig the Nick Cage movie because it has a scene where Nick Cage is going nuts and he drop kicks Lily Sobieski into like a bunch of pottery. And I'm sorry, that's completely ridiculous. I tried suspending my disbelief when the movie was over. I burst out laughing at what I saw transpire on the screen. Anyway, okay. So I guess we're going to have to move on into the gaming world. We don't do video games that much on this show, do we, Troy?
No.
Okay.
No, we do not.
And maybe it's for reasons like this. Okay, E3 was this week. Y'all E3 fans, were you checking out the different presentations this week? The knowledge is that Nintendo put on a great show. They usually do. Well, except for that one where all they showed was Wii Music, and Shaun White was on stage, and that was it. Okay. But that was many years ago. But Nintendo did a good job. I actually heard that Microsoft did a good job with their Xbox presentation, too, so good on Microsoft. Sony didn't show, but as I say, if you have nothing to show, then just don't show. At least don't waste my time, right? So I'm not even going to pick on them. Everybody hated Capcom's conference. They hated Square's conference, and these are some of the big companies. But those conferences did something. Even Ubisoft's conference did something. I think they actually still showed games. And now we move on to Take-Two. Do you know who Take-Two are, Troy, at all? They're like the...
don't. I know Take-5 is a candy bar.
Okay. Take-Two, they're the publishers of a little game series called Grand Theft Auto. I think they own Rockstar or partner with Rockstar. You've heard of Grand Theft Auto, right?
Yes.
And Borderlands, I think they also published that.
Sure.
Not a big fan of Borderlands because I know with Borderlands 2, Sega had hired the developer to make an Aliens Colonial Marines game. And of course, naturally, you get people who are good at first-person shooters make an Aliens game, right? And apparently they spent little time on that game and funneled all the money into the Borderlands 2 project, and they released a game that was horrendous based on the Alien series, and Sega was kind of left stuck. And so I haven't liked them ever since. But moving along, though. Okay. That was news. That would have been a Geeky Geezers like 7 years ago, okay? About what they did to this poor Aliens game. Because think about it. Wouldn't you love to play a game set in the Aliens universe where you're a colonial marine?
Absolutely.
Shooting? That'd be cool. But anyway, getting off track. Let's talk about the Take-Two conference, okay? This is from PC Gamer. Corporations really have to take accountability and do what's right, said 2K Director of Diversity, Inclusion, and Equality, Tony Lagones, PhD, during the Take-Two's E3 live stream today. It's the sort of thing you expect to hear during a 30-second segment about corporate responsibility that plays before loud E3 trailers about guns. Yes, you usually get like one of these things where they say we're dedicated to making the gaming industry more diverse, and then they show a couple examples and they move on to showing people what they want to see, which is the video games. Okay, because I'll be honest with you, I don't know who said it. No one cares who makes the games. The average customer doesn't care. I care about whether the game is good. I can't name most of the developers out there, okay? I can name a few because they're legends, but most of them, some of my favorite games even growing up, I found some of them were made by women. Shock, isn't it? Even back then, okay? But like Castle of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse for the
Well,
Sega
see,
Genesis. Wonderful platformer
let me-
game. Woman
let me
made it. A
interject
woman made
something
it.
here.
Okay.
Let me interject something real quick here, okay? When you're playing a game, okay, just like when you go to see a movie, okay, you don't necessarily know the person who wrote it, directed it, developed it, all of that kind of stuff. You don't know what gender they are, what color they are, who they've slept. You don't care about any of those things. You don't know about I don't have to go and say, well, I better, before I play this game and see if I like it, I better find out if it was made by a man or a woman. And if it was made by a man, what color that man is. And then who that man tends to sleep with. Otherwise, I'm not playing this game. But people out there would have you believe that's exactly why a certain game or a certain movie or certain whatever does well or not.
Yeah, but that's not. Here's the thing, though. In comparison, historically even speaking, in comparison, video gaming, computer gaming has actually been more diverse than even Hollywood and places like that. You had women working at Atari when Atari was founded, okay?
Yeah.
This is... and, you know, I don't know if things changed since then and now they have to bring it back. I don't know. But, I don't know. I'm giving credence to something I probably shouldn't be giving credence to. But anyway, but yeah... But this was kind of funny during this thing, okay? I jotted down that line about 30 minutes into a 45-minute panel about corporate responsibility and diversity, equity, inclusion in the games industry, which was the entirety of Take-Two's E3 keynote. This is very unusual, you have to understand, for an E3 keynote. Usually they'll talk about something game-related, okay?
Yeah.
And it may not be something you're interested that gets game-related, like esports. People complained in the Capcom thing about esports. I think Ubisoft even showed off some television shows they're working on. Like, what does that have to do with games? But none of it was something like this, where it's just people talk. It's like one of these panels you'd see at a game developers conference, okay? And this is what they showed as at their E3 presentation. And the article goes on to say it's not quite what the viewers on E3 Twitch channel were expecting. When Take-Two said it was doing an E3 show, we thought we'd talk about Grand Theft Auto Online or Borderlands, maybe announce something new from Firaxis. Parts of E3 are business focus, but it's best known for being a premier consumer-facing video games event. It's where consoles and blockbuster games are announced. Take-Two's disregarded that and did its own thing with a discussion you might typically see at a game developers conference. You know what they said, and a lot of other viewers stuck with it. On official E3 Twitch stream, there were still over 100,000 viewers as the segment concluded. And the panel featured Take-Two director speaking with games industry executive and USC professor Gordon Bellamy of Gay Gaming Professionals, Games for Change president Susan Pollack, UFC professor Jim Huntley, and Girls Make Games founder Ladley Shabir. Okay. It was an overview of systemic problems around gender, race, and sexuality in the gaming business, with commentary on specific experiences of discrimination, alienation, as well as Take-Two's corporate perspectives on diversity and recruiting. Okay, and let's see. Let's go on to see what it says, though. But the important topic couldn't help but cause a certain amount of comedy as co-streamers who expected to do a live commentary of game announcements were faced with a 45-minute talk directed at the LinkedIn crowd. One streamer I saw gave up partway through and went on to watch trailers from yesterday. Another Yoda-wise only made a few comments. I'm all for this, man, but this is E3 Monday, and I thought I was tuning in for game announcements. If you watch the live stream chat while this is going on, it's angry people screaming, "Where's Grand Theft Auto 6?" Okay, because people have been waiting for Grand Theft Auto 6 probably for about 8 years now, and it hasn't happened. But okay, but it just struck me as odd that this happened. I guess I don't know. Oh, Rosefire's leaving. Good night, Rosefire. Hope to see you again.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
All right. So, what do you think, huh? I guess you're not familiar with E3, but this is like, how can I put this? This is like, I want to say it's like Comic-Con, but in some ways it's bigger. It's like this back even when I was a kid, and I would buy the E3 issue of the latest electronic gaming magazine. This before the internet, to see all the upcoming games. You understand? So back then we didn't even have the video we could watch. And then they started doing video presentations where you'd have people come on stage and explain. And sometimes they'd even get celebrity guests like Aisha Tyler used to do the Ubisoft presentation. I don't know. And but the point is that this was not really games related as far as trying to sell the public on future games, and it was just odd that they had this as their presentation. But I don't know.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, no, not anything I knew anything about, but it sounds like an industry going the way rest of the industries are going these days.
Well, gaming had its own issues, of course. Horizon Talker. Grand Theft Auto has fallen into the Half-Life paradox. The studio that made it so successful, they no longer need to make a new game. This is true. I know with Half-Life, I believe that company made Steam, which is you may get some of your computer games off of Steam. I don't know if you use Steam or not, Troy. But,
I have, yeah.
Yeah,
I've had mixed results there.
And basically, that's where they make a lot of their money from. So why do they need to make more Half-Life games? Whereas Grand Theft Auto 5 was a big hit, but then there was an online portion of the game. And they make a lot of their money just from the online portion because they sell people these little credit cards you can buy to purchase items of the game. And you play it online with other players, but they have not made a Grand Theft Auto 6 since Grand Theft Auto 5 came out. I think that was in, what was that, 2013 or 2014? It was a while ago. And they've done remastered versions of Grand Theft Auto 5, but there's no Grand Theft Auto 6 in sight. So I don't know. I'm not expecting big things from Take-Two in the future because I don't know, because this is just, they had nothing to show and they gave people a lecturing conference instead of showing them games. So, all right, moving on though. Let's see what we have here. We have, hold on, Clarice silenced. This is, now I know not necessarily geek news, Silence of the Lambs, but this is related because this was an Alex Kurtzman's other big series other than Star Trek. Okay. And it has now been pulled. This was interesting. I had no idea if this show was any good, how it was doing. I think, did Critical Drinker say that this was a Silence of the Lambs series with no Hannibal Lecter in it?
Exactly. He's not the only one to say that. A lot of people have.
They were subverting your expectations. Come on. Okay. A month ago, Clarice was poised to move from CBS to Paramount Plus with the premise of a long run for the premium version of the Silence of the Lambs sequel. Now, prospects for the series appear bleak as negotiations with Viacom, CBS streamer, and co-producer MGM have reached a stalemate, I have learned. Additionally, I hear there is no viable path for Clarice to continue on CBS as the broadcast network has already committed to a full slate of series for next season. It would mean the end of the road for the high-profile drama, barring a major breakthrough in the Paramount Plus negotiations, which currently appears unlikely. Representatives for Paramount Plus and MGM declined to comment. Okay, wow. They don't want to talk about this. Wasn't this supposed to be their big hit series of the winter, and now it's gone?
Yeah.
Paramount Plus announcing it's picking up the pickup of SEAL Team and Evil May 18th. And CBS holding its up front. It's interesting. Now Paramount is snagging series from CBS, though. Like, they're taking some of the more popular CBS series, and now you want to watch these, subscribe to Plus, okay? Because Evil is now a Plus exclusive, and I think it looks like SEAL Team is as well, okay?
Let's be intellectually honest about this. This is, of course, a rights-related thing. This isn't necessarily because it wasn't good or because of ratings or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't know, yeah.
It really is licensing and that kind of stuff, which is,
But either way, it's not good for Kurtzman, right?
It really isn't. I mean, this brought to you by the same guy that brought you Sleepy Hollow and Star Trek and Hawaii Five-0 and, of course, Clarice. But here's what's really scary. Now, again, I'm looking at IMDb right now. Okay, so take it with a grain of salt, but he's got a lot of projects that appear to be in the pipe right now, including announced a Phantom of the Opera film, a Van Helsing film, a Hunchback of Notre Dame film.
What?
Frankenstein film.
They
Untitled
gave him...
Dracula film.
Oh, no.
And Now You See Me 3.
Oh, Now You See Me 3. Okay. He did the Now You See Me movies. Have you seen those?
No, I've not.
Okay. I'll say this. In part two, they're kind of B movies, but one thing I like...
that's right. He was a producer for The Mummy. That did real well. So I can totally understand why they would give him Van Helsing, Phantom of the Opera, Hunchback, Frankenstein, and Dracula. Yeah, sure, because The Mummy 2017 did so well.
Maybe keep him as executive producer, and keep him locked in a room somewhere and just hand him a check. Okay, and then give it over to somebody else that knows what they're doing.
And you know what? That's really the case, right? Because remember what a producer, executive producer are. They're the money people. And they have a financial obligation, a contractual obligation to let him in as a producer on something. He may not have anything to do with the writing, directing, anything even creative related to those things. I mean, look at Kathleen Kennedy's history. You know, she was producer on a lot of things she had nothing to do with besides bringing Steven Spielberg some coffee.
She was producer on E.T.
That's right. But once she got involved directly, things went to hell. So, you know, Kurtzman, keep throwing your money at things. Just keep your hands off of them.
Yeah, when Daniel and I were doing the E.T. rewatch with so many random fandoms, we were looking. I was looking through my book, and I noticed there's the premiere, and there's Kathleen Kennedy with her husband. I was like, "That's her, younger. That's her." You know, I was shocked. So, I mean, she was involved in some good things, but some people have roles they're good at and not good at. Like, for instance, on the I know you weren't as much a fan of the American Office show, but the American Office show pointed out that Michael Scott was a terrible manager, but when he had to actually do a sales call on Once the Blue Moon, you realize that back in the day, you know, that he actually has salesman skills. You know, he is very good at talking to clients and selling things and getting them to agree to contracts and stuff. Whereas as a manager, he was a fool.
And here's the thing that I'll say about Kurtzman and Kennedy and all these other producers, right? Their money spends the same. Just sit there, shut up, and throw the money at a project, and we're good.
Well, speaking of projects, we have the next Kurtzman project. Star Trek Picard Season 2. Okay, now, are you a little bit intrigued, huh? You saw the trailer for it, didn't you?
Not at all.
You didn't see? Okay.
Oh, no, I saw the trailer.
Okay,
yes, I did.
You're not that intrigued. Let me read a bit from this article from Screen Rant. Okay, Paramount Plus has unveiled a new Star Trek Picard Season 2 trailer that sees Patrick Stewart and his crew face off against the time-manipulating Q. Well, he's just reality manipulating sometimes. Created by Kiva Goldsman, Michael Chabon, Kristen Beyer, and Alex Kurtzman. Oh, man. Okay.
Look, this is a bait and switch, okay? They're trying to get the fans excited. Oh, this is Q. He's gonna, you know, do some timey-wiminess. It's gonna be just like when he gave Picard the opportunity to go back and prevent himself from, you know, getting stabbed in the heart, and then see what history was like, and, you know, get Picard to come back and change history back again or whatever. No. This is going to be a bait and switch. Fans are thinking that Picard, or that Q is going to come in, do an adventure, show us an alternate history, and then he's going to put things back to rights, and we're going to get our Star Trek back. Yeah. You believe that one? Pull this leg and listen to it play Jingle Bells. Because I swear they are doing this just to F with the fans, get the fans to come back, get our hopes up, and kick us in the balls again.
No, they're going to do this where 7 of 9. You know what? I realize that this future I'm in is not the right one. I want to go back to the one where each Heb got tortured to death, and you know, it's and when I had to put him out of his misery, and it's just no, let's not. None of their futures on that show are bright. Okay, so
because honestly, I would like to get back to the reality where Data's daughter is Lal, for crying out loud, you know, and there's some reference to lore besides B4. You know?
Yeah.
But no, that's not going to happen. Good luck. I super appreciate you guys getting your hopes up, those that are. Honestly, I haven't actually heard anyone say they were. Everybody knows this is going to be a bunch of BS. I'm a little annoyed that the trailer actually showed us a little shot of the Klingon flag that is somewhat changed and not giving us enough details so I can actually make a flag that looks like that. But, you know, again, they don't give a frack about
You'll
the
get the
fans.
details when you watch the show and subscribe to Paramount
No,
Plus.
unfortunately, we won't. Because what will happen is I'll see that exact same flag draped in exactly the same way, and I won't it's not like someone's going to hold it up and say, look, this is the new Klingon flag. No, that's not going to happen. And of course, we're not getting any technical manuals or, chronologies or anything, because that era is over with.
They don't have anyone staff that knows how to write the technical manuals. Come on.
Because during the next gen era, if you couldn't see something clearly on screen, there would be a book that would come out that would go into details about it, No.
I'm not a science guy, but I can always tell when people are trying to do the science on the shows and do it right. Okay, at least making the attempt. Even I can tell when I'm not a science guy. Yeah. And I can tell they have not been doing that with these.
So when you hear about sonar in space, that doesn't do it for you.
No. Q has never solved the problem he didn't cause before. The writers aren't smart enough to use them that way now. Yeah. The Klingon flag now 25% different. Yeah, well, that's the bad robot thing.
What's funny is I could totally see this would never happen because this would actually be clever writing. But what would be clever would be to say that everything that happened since the Narada went back in time was all part of a Q messing with Picard thing. And it was just this long, slow burn. And we've actually seen the entire thing.
That would be funny.
That would be interesting. So in other words, just like when Q would change history and show Picard an alternate history, okay, we always saw it after it had all happened and we were back at where, history was different now.
Like he manipulates the Romulans into creating this anti-robot thing.
Yes. Whereas this is a time when he changes history, and we literally have gone along for the whole ride. And
that
now
would be
he's
kind of
set
interesting.
Everything back. But that would be too much like good writing.
That would be the way to fix it. Actually, they could fix it that way, and then we could never speak of the other stuff again. Because everything, Picard was very respected. The Romulans respected Picard, even. I mean, this is
now nobody respects.
Now
Picard.
He's apologizing, and he's an android.
I'm so sorry for being so old and being white and being a male.
Well, being a rich guy, I have heirloom furniture in a estate.
There's no such thing as rich in Star Trek.
Oh, there isn't. They've gotten past that. Go! And if you can't find a spot on Earth, there are probably numerous human colonies everywhere. You can go there. You can. I don't understand this.
I will say the one thing that I think the fans' reaction is totally off base is, well, why is Q so old? I'm like,
no,
because he's Q and he can be. And look at him; he actually looks pretty darn good.
No, John Delancey's still a great actor. And no, I'd rather they do that than try to use some de-aging thing on John Delancey.
I could see them doing some de-aging and playing around with it here and there. But
I think maybe he makes himself look old because Picard's old. Okay, I'll make you more comfortable.
Makes perfect sense.
And I'm fine with that, and I don't care.
Because what did Q always do when he showed up? He started out in old Earth uniforms. And then eventually put himself in the same uniform as Picard. And then he made himself an admiral in a Starfleet uniform. Right? He did that kind of stuff to tweak with people, right?
Yeah. He liked messing around with them. He was one of the most interesting characters on that whole series. And what was interesting is I liked the episode. Remember when the Continuum basically said, we've had it with you, and they strip him of all his omnipotent powers and make him human, basically. And I thought that was interesting because I like Guinan's, I guess, some of the Q people from the Q members of the Q Continuum you might even call them respectable. So they're not all like Q. And it was just, I don't know. Didn't Q have a child at some point? They
and in fact, the actress that played the female Q was Susie Plaxon, who played Dr. Solar and Kalar.
Yeah.
Oh, and she also played an Andorian in Enterprise.
Yes. An Andorian Enterprise. Okay, yeah. Star Trek was interesting in how they would reuse the same actors, but they reused them in smart ways. Like I think Jeffrey Combs played, what is it, Waylon on Deep Space Nine, but then he was playing it.
Yes.
Wayun, my mistake. Yeah, Wayun, and he was playing an Andorian on Enterprise, right? So he would show up.
Yes, he was the
things.
main one. He was a very, very likable character. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was cool that you'd see the same actor show up in different roles, and I appreciate that.
Interesting little piece of I don't know what you'd call it, expanded universe lore, but that character, that Andorian character from Enterprise, that character's son grows up to be the captain of the Enterprise F in Star Trek Online.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. But I don't know. Picard, I think they wrote themselves into a corner, so let's bring Q into the mix. And I think it's all going to be a season of Q messing with, here, you get to redo your life. Look at this, Ravi, your son doesn't hate you anymore, and you didn't get addicted to drugs, and but then you didn't do that. And I don't know what they're going to do. I mean,
if they had any kind of self-awareness, you'd get a brilliant commentary from Q about what Starfleet was when it was at its best and what it's supposed to be, and chide Picard for, allowing this to happen.
Yeah,
but I didn't do this, and no, you're right, I did. But I wanted to show it to you so you'd appreciate it. And then he puts it back. That would be, but again, that's too much like good writing.
Yeah, and it would be a way to fix this mess. But you still have Michael Chabon at the helm, so never mind. And we're going to have more sheer effing hubris lines and everything else. And
sheer effing hubris.
I will say this. It is great seeing John Delancey again. Okay.
Yeah.
Great actor. He's been in other things besides Star Trek.
And you
but
know
I
what?
do know him
From my experience with him, really nice guy.
Oh, I bet. And it's funny because he played a character on My Little Pony. I don't watch My Little Pony. Just putting that out there. Okay. But I did watch the documentary about the bronies because I'm like, what is this? And he they had a character that was Q-like, and they had to get a voice actor, and they said, can we get John Delancey to play him? So I thought that was kind of neat. And they got John Delancey to play like this prankster on the show. Okay.
That's awesome.
And he showed up at conventions, and there was this father who has a son who was really into My Little Pony, and hopefully he was in it for just because he liked the show and not for other weird reasons. And John Delancey talked to that. Okay, this really isn't that normal. And, he kind of, and the guy said, okay, it was good that John Delancey talked to me. Okay, so it's not as weird because he thought it was weird his son was into My Little Pony. But when John Delancey talked to him. So it's kind of nice that he took the time to actually, kind of mend things with the father and son. This happened in the real world. So that was kind of cool. So he's a good guy. And I just fixed Star Trek. Please.
Well,
I've lost Doctor Who. Please give me Star Trek back.
I'm at the point where I've lost interest in all these fans. That it's worse than they could possibly imagine. Not only am I angry and complaining about this stuff, I no longer care anymore. So
I wonder who's
I am very
care.
happy to sit back and watch it all burn. And if they ever get their heads out of their asses and start making good stuff again, maybe I'll come back. Maybe.
I've said this before. If the rumors hold true, I think they are going to try to salvage something with Strange New Worlds. I don't know. It's just rumor, so this could be another disaster too. But there was rumor that I think the woman heading Paramount Plus or whatever right now is saying you have to make this something viable again. Okay, you have to make Star Trek viable again. And I think they want to start with Strange New Worlds. We'll see.
We'll see.
I did like the actor playing Captain Pike, and Rebecca Romaine Stamos was on it as well, and just. Is that even her name anymore?
No.
It's Rebecca Romaine, okay. Because they got divorced. She married Jerry O'Connell. Okay, never mind. Anyway, well, and maybe I could get used to the new actor playing Spock. I don't know. He's not, as long as he doesn't have that horrible beard, right? Okay.
That would be a start. Start writing him as Spock.
And maybe we can just ignore the other series. But we'll see. Like I said... Continuity is continuity,
or as Critical Drinker calls Mikey Spock. He refers to her as diverse space Jesus.
There was a lot of potential with Michael Burnham in the fact that this is a disgraced Starfleet officer that has to come back.
Yeah. There's everything that they do has potential, but when you gotta and she's also Spock's, unknown foster sister, and she's responsible for everything that Spock became, and
it makes me think that one of the problems of Star Trek is Star Trek has always been an ensemble series, and maybe you don't want to focus on one singular character on a series.
I almost feel like the best way to fix Discovery is to find out that Michael Burnham started a civil war between the Klingons and the humans, and everything after that takes place in her delusional mind as she's in the reprogramming asylum that was in the original series, with Garth of Izar and whatnot. That would be the way to do it, and maybe. You just find out all of it is from her point of view, and you have Pike and Number One and Spock visiting her in the asylum, asking for a status and finding out what her prognosis is, and because she sees Spock, she believes herself to be his sister, and
so it would be like that episode of Smallville where Clark is in the mental institution, and they're saying, "Oh, you're going to tell us about the meteor freaks, or maybe you were fighting a villain from the Phantom Zone." Except this would be the reality.
Exactly.
That's supposed to be.
Exactly. That would be brilliant.
Maybe, and maybe they could even bring her out of it and make her. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know what their plan is. I think the whole thing with them doing the time jump, because they have to seal Star Trek's future away too. They can't just be the past they're messing with. They have to also take the post next gen. But again, like I said, another thing you can do is
Elba 2. That was the name of the rehabilitation center.
Right. Elba 2. You could always just scrap the you could always just scrap the whole anything bad robot related, and maybe just start from scratch post TNG, post Nemesis. I don't know, but Horizon Talker says John Delancey has always been good to his fans, and I'm glad. I'm glad he's getting work. He had a wonderful smaller role on the show Breaking Bad. I don't know if you ever watched Breaking Bad. That's a very dark series, but John Delancey was on that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I won't go into it if you ever decide to watch it. But he does star in that. It was a good role. It was a small role, but he was on it. Okay. He was kind of a tragic figure on that show too. But anyway, I think that's it for news. Any last thoughts on Star Trek?
Oh, it sucks. I just better to let it fade away than keep kicking that dead horse.
Maybe if this airs though, and I still have access.
Yep. Netter was just pointing out that the reason we met him was we were on his security duty at his first con when he was in Next Gen.
Yeah, you had mentioned that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure he was a big draw.
He was, and he was completely unaware. He was not prepared for what was going on. And he really, because they had him there as a guest, he was like, hey, I'm going to bring my son. My son's kind of a Star Trek fan. Take him around, see what it's like. And he was just out walking like any other, convention goer. And we all just kind of had to, he got mobbed, and all the security just kind of like, okay, let's break it up, everybody. And Mr. Delancey, we really need to kind of plan these things out for you. I had no idea.
Was there like a contingency of fans dressed in like his courtroom outfit from the Encounter at Farpoint?
Not at that convention, but okay. Yeah, I have seen some people do that costume. Yeah.
Was that actually modeled after something in Star Trek history? If that was like something a judge wore? Okay, that was just something he wore. Okay.
No, yeah, that was a very. This was the thing that grabbed me with Next Gen right from the beginning, was this introduction of some bit of lore that takes place before Star Trek, between real modern history and Star Trek. So we get some of that middle history, you know?
Do you know what I always found fascinating about the middle history? It actually shows that while we're doing okay now, we're actually going to go through a nasty dark period before we get to the Federation era, right?
Yeah.
And I thought that was always interesting. Like, we still had one last hurdle as a species to get through. And even in Star Trek First Contact, when I think I think when the woman wakes up, who was with Severin Cox, like, oh, are we being bombed again or something? Is it like, because I think, did World War III just happened, or a World War just happened like a little while ago, and they were finally got out of it? I don't remember. You probably know more about this than me, but yeah.
Yeah, see, that was... So Next Gen kind of introduced the idea that... Well, no, let me back up a little bit. There were some things that threads that they picked up on. So there was the concept of the eugenics wars. There was the concept of World War III. There was, Colonel Green and all of that kind of stuff. And we knew approximately when those kinds of things happened. And there was a line from Spock how so much history had been lost because, of the bombings and, so on and so forth.
Interesting.
Which was their way of saying, yeah, we're going to gloss over the fact that we don't know what happened during that era because it's the future, right? And Next Gen was like, no, we can kind of extrapolate what, from 1969 through 1980, whatever, we know what actually happened, and we can kind of figure out what happens leading up to Star Trek. So let's kind of fill in some of that stuff. And
well, not only that too, but they had their own archaeologists and historians. Maybe that stuff was discovered since the Kirk era.
Exactly. Well, and we even see some of it happening real time within Next Gen. There was the episode The Neutral Zone, where they find a ship, a satellite from Earth that was on a wild orbit that was bringing it back, and the Enterprise picks it up and near the neutral zone, and turns out that the ship contained several individuals who were cryogenically frozen from the 20th century. So we got that kind of everything that they knew came with them. And
you know what's funny? Because you had the one guy who I guess was a stockholder or big business guy, and he said, "Oh, it's all been like Picard Snyder says, no, now the thing is improving yourself. You don't have that money anymore, And he's all shocked. But then they take it back, and this guy, when he sees the Romulan guy, and he says on the ship, he's bluffing. He's seeing if you are lying. Okay, he basically deducted, and he says they don't know what's happened to their colonies either. And I think
his skill at negotiations and reading people as a businessman carries over. I mean, that's why so many businessmen read Sun Tzu's The Art of War. Yeah. These skills translate. The weapons are different, but the diplomacy and war and business, all of these things are basically the same game.
Yeah. So I thought that was a nice touch, but yeah, they've done other things on Deep Space Nine. They did a lot with it too, with Gabriel Bell. Remember, then Cisco Gabriel Bell ends up getting killed, and Cisco has to basically pretend to be Gabriel Bell in the past to make sure that future happens. Remember? Which I thought was interesting. And
brilliant version of maintaining the continuity, the timeline, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just the opposite of what we're seeing in Loki right now. We have a character who's willing to sacrifice his own life to preserve history and the timeline. No, we're more interested in completely rewriting history and making it up as we go, and we don't care. Which, again, that's kind of, hitting it on the nose for the modern day, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So we started talking about Doctor Who, and we ended talking about Star Trek, right?
Yep.
That's why we're the Geeky Geezers, right?
And that's why if these are topics that you're interested in, join me on my channel Friday night for my Friday night last call, 9:00 Central Time, where I will be. You'll be there too, Boomer.
Yep.
We will be talking with Matthew from Bud Boy Entertainment, who is on the other side of the pond. He's a Brit who's a great guy. I literally met him through the Latino Slant, and Great YouTuber. I highly recommend you go over, check out his YouTube channel, Bud Boy Entertainment. I will drop the link on Friday. Make sure you guys get over there. And we're going to talk about these geeky cultural, type things from his growing up in the UK, us growing up over here.
I'm interested to hear what that's like because I know their experience was different than ours.
Yep.
So
and I'm probably going to pull Netter in too because
That's fine.
Netter's got some great insights too because she's kind of had a foot in both worlds. Her mom was from the UK and has a great deal of cultural background there that she can and she was also a Doctor Who fan and Anglophile like myself because her mom was British. You kind of have to love Britain when your mom's British, right?
Of course, yeah.
But So we'll be talking about that some more on Friday. What are we looking forward to this week? Oh, Wednesday, the cinematic masterpiece over on
Daniel
Soundtracks with Birdman. Looking forward to that. You guys are going to have a guest, aren't you? Someone.
Yes. Oh,
what's his name? Do you remember? I don't know.
I can find out. But the movie we are doing will be Basic Instinct.
Yeah.
Okay?
There's a couple really, really good scenes in that movie.
Which I have yet to see, so I guess I have something to look forward to. But,
you're watching it on...
I own the DVD. I just...
so you do have it on DVD. Okay.
Just for some reason, I've never gotten around to watching it, so I will be watching it before the stream. I have the unrated version, too.
Oh, good. So high-quality digital media that you can pause. And your DVD has the Zoom feature, too, right?
Yes.
Yes, it does. Okay, that's worthwhile.
The old ones did. I don't know if my current one does, but that's going to be. Oh, Eric Woods, special guest Eric Woods from Cinematic Sound Radio. He'll be on with us. Definitely check it out. He's a cool guest who has his own. He does podcasting too, so it's definitely check out the stream if you have time. I think Green Lion Girl. Is she also doing Wednesday streams still, or? Yep,
she does Wednesday. Okay. She does Friday, and. Lately, she's been doing, and it's just so laid back. She should almost do like an ASMR playlist because she's doing The Sims, and she's building houses and stuff like that. It's kind of fun. I kind of enjoy it.
Cool beans. And are you doing a Saturday night rewatch next week on Netter's channel, correct?
On Netter's channel, the next one, I believe, is All of Me with Steve Martin and Lily Tomlin.
Cool.
Gosh, that's another one I haven't seen since it first came out.
Lily Tomlin, was she in The Incredible Shrinking Woman?
Yes, she was.
Oh, yeah, that's a weird movie.
Yes, she was. That was that era where Lily Tomlin, Steve Martin, a lot of those comedians were doing some great movies. So yeah, All of Me on Netter's Network next week Saturday. I don't know what they call the show. Netter's Watch Party.
Retro Cinema.
Retro Cinema, that's what it is.
Yes, that is right. Okay.
But, yeah.
Well, all right. So y'all have a good night. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Take care, everyone.
Retro Cinema presents.
Retro Cinema presents.
Retro Cinema presents.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, everyone. You have a great one. Take care.
Good night.